Admiral James Walker stood at the viewport of Earth's orbital station, his weathered face reflecting the distant stars. The year was 2150, and humanity had just achieved what their ancestors could only dream of, faster-than-light travel. After centuries of looking up at the stars and wondering, they had finally found their answer. They were not alone. "Admiral, the Council representatives have arrived." The young officer's voice pulled Walker from his thoughts. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Tell Ambassador Gray I'll meet him in the conference room." Walker adjusted his uniform and took one last look at Earth below. Blue, beautiful, and finally ready to join the greater galactic community, or so they thought. The Galactic Council's space station was unlike anything humans had ever built. It stretched for miles in every direction, a massive ring of metal, and lighthousing representatives from 12 advanced alien species. Ambassador Marcus Gray tried not to look too impressed as he was escorted through its gleaming hallways. Next to him walked Dr. Eliza Reed, the physicist whose breakthrough had made faster-than-light travel possible. "Remember," Gray whispered. To her, "We're here as equals, not as students." Eliza nodded, but her eyes couldn't help but wander to the incredible technology surrounding them. "Their power systems alone must be centuries beyond ours," she murmured. They entered a vast chamber where curved benches rose in tiered rows. At the center stood a circular platform, and above it floated holographic displays showing star systems and data streams. 12 alien representatives sat in the highest tier, looking down at the humans. The head counselor, a tall being with silvery skin and 4 arms, rose. "The council recognizes Earth's representatives. Please step forward and state your case for membership." Gray approached the platform, his heart pounding but his face calm. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since first contact 6 months ago. "Honorable Council," he began, "on behalf of Earth and all humanity, I thank you for this opportunity. We come before you as a young species eager to learn, to trade, and to contribute to galactic peace." He gestured to screens that showed Earth's greatest achievements, its art, its cities rebuilt after the climate wars, its first colony on Mars. "We have overcome great challenges to reach this point. We have united our planet after centuries of division. We have solved our energy crisis and begun to heal our environment. We bring with us unique perspectives and innovations that we believe will benefit all species." The council members watched silently. Gray couldn't read their alien expressions, but he felt a growing unease at their stillness. When he finished his presentation, there was no applause, no questions, only silence. Then, the representative from the Arvoni species, beings with dark purple skin and eyes that glowed yellow, touched a control panel. New images appeared above the platform, images of Earth's history that made Gray's blood run cold. Nuclear explosions, battlefields strewn with bodies, concentration camps, environmental disasters. "Is this also humanity?" the Arvoni asked, voice cold and flat. Gray stammered, That's our past. We've moved beyond." "Have you?" interrupted another council member, this one resembling a giant insect. "Our observations show that humans still resolve conflicts with violence. Your entertainment glorifies warfare. Your nations still maintain armies. All species have troubled histories," Gray argued. "We've learned from ours." The head counselor raised a hand for silence. "We have studied your kind since you first split the atom. You humans develop technology far faster than you develop wisdom. You are unpredictable, emotional, and dangerous." Dr. Reed stepped forward without permission. "That's unfair. We've made mistakes, yes, but we've also shown tremendous capacity for growth and compassion. Silence. The head counselor's voice boomed through the chamber. "This is not a debate." The 12 council members touched panels before them. A vote was taking place. Gray felt sweat beading on his forehead. This wasn't going as planned. Not at all. "The council has reached its decision," announced the head counselor. "Earth is deemed a Category 3 threat to galactic stability. No, council species will be permitted to share technology with humans. No trade routes will include the Sol system. A quarantine buoy network will be established to monitor all activity within your system. You are, effectively, contained. Gray couldn't believe what he was hearing. Contained? We came here in peace. We've done nothing to threaten you. It is not what you have done, said the head counselor. It is what you might do. The decision is final. You will be escorted back to your ship immediately. The return journey to Earth was the longest of Gray's life. How could he tell humanity that instead of joining a bright new future, they had been labeled as dangerous and quarantined like a disease? Admiral Walker was waiting when their ship docked. One look at Gray's face told him everything. They rejected us, Walker said. It wasn't a question. Gray nodded. His shoulders slumped in defeat. Worse than rejected. They've quarantined us. No contact, no trade, no technology exchange. They're putting up a network of monitoring stations around our entire system. Dr. Reed's eyes flashed with anger. They judged us by our past, not our potential. They feared what we might become, not what we are. Walker's face hardened. Come with me. Both of you. He led them through the station to a secure room where Earth's leadership had gathered via holographic projection. Presidents, prime ministers, and other leaders from the United Earth government sat in grim silence as Gray repeated what had happened. So that's it? Asked the president of the United Earth government. We're just locked away and forgotten? No, said Admiral Walker, stepping forward. That's what they expect. They expect us to rage against our cage, to prove them right about our violent nature. But we're going to do something they won't expect. All eyes turned to him. We're going to build. In silence. In secret. They think they know humans, but they've underestimated us at every turn. They've studied our wars but missed our greatest strength. Which is? Asked a leader from Africa. Adaptation, Walker said firmly. No species in Earth's history has adapted faster than humans. Put us in a desert, we survive. Put us in the Arctic, we build homes. Tell us we can't fly, we invent planes. Tell us we can't reach the stars. He let the thought hang in the air. Dr. Reed straightened, a new light in her eyes. The Council has given us one advantage. They think they've contained us. They'll stop watching so closely. Meanwhile, I have ideas for improving our FTL drives that could make our ships nearly impossible to track. The president nodded slowly. How long would such a project take? Years. Decades, even. Reed admitted. But what choice do we have? Gray, who had been quiet, finally spoke. They cast us out because they fear what we might become. I say we show them exactly what humans do when backed into a corner. We don't break, we plan, we prepare, and when the time is right, we emerge stronger than anyone imagined possible. One by one, the world leaders nodded in agreement. Then it's decided, the president said. We begin today. Admiral Walker, Dr. Reed, Ambassador Gray, you three will head what we'll call the preservation protocol. Humanity won't just survive this setback. We'll use it to forge ourselves into something greater. As the meeting ended, Walker looked out, another viewport at the stars, the same stars that had just rejected humanity. They think they've seen the worst of us, he said quietly. Wait until they see the best. 50 years had passed since the Galactic Council had cast humanity aside. Earth was no longer the divided planet it once was. The rejection had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. It united humanity with a single purpose. Director Thomas. Reed stood in the vast underground complex beneath what had once been the Antarctic ice shelf. The ice had melted long ago during the climate wars, revealing land that now housed Earth's most secret facility. He was the son of Dr. Eliza Reed, the physicist who had helped develop Earth's first FTL drive. Now he carried on his mother's work with the same fierce determination. Director, the stealth test is ready, said his assistant. Thomas nodded and walked to the control room. Through the viewing window he could see the sleek black ship waiting in the massive chamber. It didn't look impressive, and that was exactly the point. It was designed to be forgotten, to slip past eyes and sensors alike. Begin the test, Thomas ordered. The ship hummed to life. but instead of the bright energy signature that most ships produced, this one seemed to fade from view, becoming a shadow among shadows. Stealth systems functioning at 98% efficiency, reported a technician. Council standard sensors would need to be within 100 meters to detect it. Thomas allowed himself a small smile. And no Council ship has come within 1,000 kilometers of our system's edge in 15 years. They've grown complacent. Just as Admiral Walker predicted, said a voice behind him. Thomas turned to see General Lisa Walker, daughter of the now legendary Admiral James Walker. She had her father's steady gaze and strategic mind, now in command of Earth's growing shadow fleet. Your father would be proud, Thomas said. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Lisa nodded. The Council thinks we're still licking our wounds, trapped in our little corner of the galaxy. They have no idea what's coming. Agent Ben Foster moved through the crowded alien spaceport with practiced ease. Though he was human, few would notice. His features had been subtly altered, his skin tinted a pale blue to resemble the Trellan traders who frequently visited this hub. The Council maintained hundreds of trading posts like this one on the edges of their territory, places where the 12 official species and their various client races could exchange goods. Humans, of course, were not welcome, but humans had become very good at not being noticed. Foster slipped into a maintenance corridor, checking his wrist device. He had 15 minutes before the security sweep. 15 minutes to access the data hub and extract what Earth needed. He placed a small device against the wall, and it quickly cut through the metal, creating an opening just large enough for him to squeeze through. Inside was a forest of crystalline data storage units pulsing with light. Working quickly, Foster attached data leeches to 3 of the crystals. The tiny devices copied the stored information without triggering the usual access protocols. It was technology developed on Earth, based on principles that the Council would never expect humans to understand. His wrist device beeped softly, 5 minutes remaining. Foster retrieved the data leeches and sealed the wall behind him. By the time security arrived, there would be no trace of his presence. As he blended back into the crowd, Foster allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. In his pocket were the latest Council shipping routes, security protocols, and, most valuable of all, technological schematics that Earth's scientists would study and improve upon. The Council had made a critical error in their judgment of humanity. They had expected humans to either accept their fate or fight against it openly. They had not expected this patient, silent gathering of knowledge, this slow and careful expansion. On the bridge of the EDS Pathfinder, General Walker reviewed the latest reports. Earth defense ship, that's what they called them officially. But these ships weren't defending Earth anymore. They were extending humanity's reach among the stars. General, we're approaching the target system, said her navigator. Take us out. Of FTL silent running, Lisa ordered. The Pathfinder slipped into normal space like a knife into water, its presence masked by the stealth technology Thomas Reed had perfected. Before them hung a yellow star with 7 planets. According to ancient Council records that Foster's team had recovered, this system had been surveyed once, centuries ago, and dismissed as having no habitable worlds. The Council had been wrong. The 4th planet had everything humans needed: water, breathable atmosphere, and rich mineral deposits. It was simply too far from the galactic center to interest the Council's core species. Send the survey teams, Lisa said. I want reports within 6 hours. Her second-in-command hesitated. General, if we establish a colony here, we'll be committing significant resources outside our system. If the Council discovers it, they won't, Lisa said firmly. And even if they did, we're not violating their quarantine. They told us to stay in our system. They never forbade us from settling elsewhere. She smiled thinly. The Council should have been more specific in their restrictions. 3 months later, the first human colony outside the Sol system was taking shape. They named it New Dawn, and though it was small, just 5,000 people to start, it represented something profound. Humanity had taken its first step beyond the prison the Council had created for them. Thomas Reed stood with Lisa Walker on a hilltop overlooking the new settlement. Prefabricated buildings gleamed in the alien sunlight, and earth plants were already taking root in the fertile soil. My father said this day would come, Lisa said quietly. He didn't live to see it, but he knew. Thomas nodded. My mother, too. They laid the foundation for all of this. A technician approached them, carrying a small device. Director Reed, the quantum communicator is ready for its first test. This was the moment Thomas had been working toward for years. If it succeeded, it would change everything. The quantum communicator used principles that even the Council's scientists had barely explored, the ability to link particles across vast distances, allowing instant communication that couldn't be detected or intercepted. Connect to Earth Command, Thomas ordered. The device hummed softly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a voice came through, clear as if the speaker were standing beside them. New Dawn, this is Earth Command. We read you perfectly. Thomas and Lisa exchanged looks of triumph. With this technology, humanity could coordinate its expansion across dozens, eventually hundreds of star systems, all while remaining invisible to the Council's watching eyes. Send the message, Thomas told the technician. Tell them Phase 2 is complete. Begin Phase 3. As the sun set on humanity's first extrasolar colony, Thomas looked up at the unfamiliar stars. Somewhere out there, the Council continued its business, secure in the knowledge that humans were safely contained. They cast us out, Thomas said softly. But in doing so, they forced us to become something greater than we might have been as just another Council race. We're not building an empire to join them anymore. No, agreed Lisa. We're building one to surpass them. 100 years had passed since the Galactic Council had turned humanity away. What had begun as a desperate plan for survival had evolved into something the Council could never have imagined. Humanity had not just survived, it had thrived. In the shadows, Commander Alex Stone stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching as his fleet of 30 ships moved silently through the darkness of space. Each vessel was a marvel of human ingenuity, incorporating both Earth-born innovation and adapted alien technology. Not a single one would register on Council scanners. Commander, all ships report ready, his first officer said. Alex nodded. Set. Course for the Viridian system. Standard stealth protocols. The Defiance and its fleet slipped into FTL travel, vanishing from normal space. Their mission was routine now. Establish another outpost in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. Extend the Shadow Network's reach a little further. The Shadow Network. That's what they called the hidden web of human colonies, outposts, and ships that now stretched across more than 30 star systems. Not an empire, not yet, but the foundation of one. Director Olivia Hayes studied the holographic map hovering before her in the command center of New Horizon, the largest human colony outside the Sol system. Little points of light marked confirmed human settlements, while blue lines traced their secret trade routes. Report from our scouts in the Proxima sector, said her aide, handing her a data pad. Olivia reviewed the information with interest. So the Durrani are seeking independence. From the Council? Yes, Director. They've been systematically denied resources and representation for decades. Council ships have blockaded their homeworld twice in the past 5 years. The Durrani were one of several dozen lesser species that existed on the fringes of Council. Space. Not advanced enough to earn a seat on the Council, they were treated as second-class citizens in the galactic community. They could be valuable allies, Olivia mused. Their mineral resources would help our expansion in that sector, and they have experience navigating Council bureaucracy. Should we make contact? Asked the aide. Olivia considered this carefully. For a century, humans had operated on one principle above all others: remain unseen. But perhaps it was time for a calculated risk. Send a diplomatic team, small, deniable. If they respond positively, offer them what the Council never has: equal partnership. Engineer Jack Morrison wiped sweat from his brow as he made final adjustments to the ship's outer hull. The vessel around him didn't look like much. An old mining craft, the kind used by dozens of species throughout the galaxy. But that was the point. Testing phase complete, announced his assistant. Transformation sequence ready. Jack stepped back and checked the control panel. Initialize adaptive sequence. Before their eyes, the ship began to change. Sections of the hull shifted, rearranged, and changed color. Special nanomaterials altered their molecular structure, transforming the energy signature the vessel emitted. Within 3 minutes, what had been a mining vessel now appeared to be a Council diplomatic shuttle. Perfect, Jack said with satisfaction. And the internal systems? All registering as Maverian technology, as programmed. This was Jack's specialty, adaptive technology that could change not just appearance, but fundamental energy signatures. It allowed human ships to mimic alien vessels to blend in when stealth wasn't an option. Combined with the Shadow Network's stealth systems, it made human activity nearly impossible to track. Package the final specs and send them to the fleet, Jack ordered. Every ship in the network needs this upgrade yesterday. The Council patrol vessel Righteous Path drifted through the Kandari asteroid belt, its sensors sweeping the area routinely. Captain Threll, a member of the mantis-like Vorax species, was completing his final patrol route before retirement. Captain, unusual energy reading at coordinates 227 Mark IV, reported his sensor officer. Threll sighed. Probably just another smuggler hiding contraband. Investigate. Standard approach. As the patrol ship changed course, the sensor officer frowned. Sir, the reading, it's gone. Gone? Did they jump to FTL? No, sir, no FTL signature detected. It's as if whatever was there simply vanished. Threll chittered in annoyance. After 30 years enforcing Council law, he was tired of mysteries. Log it and continue patrol. Probably just sensor ghost from the asteroid field. What Threll couldn't know was that the sensor ghost was actually a human scout ship that had detected the patrol vessel seconds before being detected itself. The scout had activated its newest stealth system, essentially becoming invisible, even at close range. Aboard the human vessel, the crew breathed a collective sigh of relief. That was too close, muttered the captain. Send word to command. Council patrols in this sector have increased by 40% since our last survey. In a dimly lit chamber on the Council's capital world, 12 representatives gathered for an emergency meeting. Holograms showed star charts with strange anomalies marked in red. These reports cannot be ignored any longer, insisted the Arvoni representative, the same species that had shown evidence against humanity a century before. Something is operating in our territories, something that can evade our most advanced detection systems. Perhaps a natural phenomenon, suggested another counselor. Natural phenomena don't destroy our probe ships when discovered, countered the Arvoni. Whatever this is, it's intelligent and determined to remain hidden. The head counselor, a different individual than the one who had sentenced humanity to isolation, but of the same silver-skinned species, looked troubled. What evidence do we have of its origin? Very little. Our outposts occasionally detect ships that appear and disappear. Trade hubs report resources going missing. And most concerning, several minor species on the outer rim have stopped communicating with Council representatives altogether. You believe these events are connected? I do. I believe we are dealing with what our security forces have dubbed a phantom civilization, a group operating beyond our knowledge and outside our laws. The Council chamber filled with concerned murmurs. Could it be the humans? Asked one counselor hesitantly. The Arvoni dismissed this with a wave. Impossible. The quarantine boys show they've barely established a presence on their 4th planet. Their ships are primitive and easy to track. No, this is something else. Something potentially far more dangerous. The head counselor stood. Increase patrols in all affected sectors. I want sensor stations upgraded. Whatever this phantom civilization is, we will find it and determine if it poses a threat to Council stability. On New Horizon, Olivia Hayes met with Commander Stone and Engineer Morrison in a secure conference room. The holographic face of a non-human being floated above the table, the first official ally of the Shadow Network. The Council grows suspicious, said the alien, a Durrani elder named Trell. Their ships ask questions about missing resources, about changes in our trade patterns. But they don't suspect an alliance with humans? Asked Olivia. Trell made a sound, like quiet laughter. They believe humans are still trapped in your home system, licking your wounds from their rejection. The Council's arrogance blinds them to what's happening right under their noses. Nevertheless, said Alex, we should accelerate the timetable. More Council patrols mean more chances of discovery. Jack nodded in agreement. My teams have completed the adaptive technology rollout. We can begin Phase 4 immediately. Olivia studied the map of their growing network of allies and outposts. What had begun as humanity's desperate bid for survival had evolved into something greater. A shadow alliance of species who had all, in one way or another, been cast aside by the Council. The Council cast us out because they feared what we might become, she said quietly. They never imagined that in doing so they would create exactly what they feared most, an alternative to their power. An empire born in shadow, Alex said with a smile, ready to step into the light when the moment is right. 150 years had passed since humanity's expulsion from galactic society. What had once been a handful of hidden outposts had evolved into the Aurora Federation, an alliance of over 100 worlds and a dozen different species, all united by a common history of Council neglect or oppression. Admiral Rachel Stone, great-granddaughter of Commander Alex Stone, stood on the command deck of the Federation flagship Revelation. At 2 kilometers long, the vessel was the largest and most advanced warship humans had ever built, though no Council world had ever seen it. The ship's name was fitting. Rachel knew that the time for hiding was coming to an end. Status report, she ordered, her voice calm despite the tension hanging in the air. All battle groups report ready, Admiral, her first officer responded. The fleet is in position, cloaking systems engaged. Rachel nodded. Around the Revelation, invisible to normal sensors, floated 200 ships of the Aurora Federation's first fleet. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of human and allied engineering, technology that had evolved in isolation from Council influence, taking different paths than what the established powers considered possible. And our allies? The Durrani Defense Force is standing by. The Krell ships have taken position near the Arcturus Gate. The Valen fleet awaits your signal. Rachel allowed herself a small smile. The Council had made many enemies over the centuries. With their arrogance, now those enemies had a common banner to rally behind. The Aurora Federation. Very good. Now we wait. Diplomat William Hayes walked through the corridors of Nexus Station, the commercial hub that had become the unofficial capital of the Aurora Federation. Unlike the sterile, gleaming hallways of Council stations, Nexus was a vibrant mixture of architectural styles reflecting the diverse species that called the Federation home. The latest intelligence report, sir, said his aide, handing him a datapad. William scanned the information, his expression growing serious. So it's confirmed? The Vex are moving toward Council space? Yes, sir. Our long-range scouts verified it yesterday. The Council remains unaware. The Vex. The name sent a chill down William's spine. They weren't a species but a force, a swarm, of self-replicating machines from beyond the galactic rim, consuming everything in their path. Federation deep space monitors had detected them 3 months ago, and projections showed they would reach inhabited systems within weeks. Have we completed evacuation of the border worlds in their path? Yes, sir. All Federation citizens have been relocated to safe systems, William nodded. And the Council worlds in the projected path? 3 major colonies, 7 outposts, population approximately 4 billion. The Council still has no idea what's coming. William stared out a viewport at the stars. For a century and a half, humanity and its allies had hidden from the Council, building their strength in secret. They had planned to reveal themselves on their own terms when the Federation was ready. But now, fate had forced their hand. Contact Admiral Stone, William said firmly. Tell her it's time. Council investigator Theron, a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin, stood before the Galactic Council with findings from his 20-year investigation. Counselors, I have finally uncovered the truth about the Phantom Civilization, he announced. My evidence is conclusive. The council chamber, normally filled with the murmur of side conversations, fell silent. "Proceed," said the head counselor. Theron activated his presentation. Holographic images appeared, ships with unfamiliar designs, outposts hidden on moons and asteroids, and most damning of all, humans walking among alien species that had no official contact with Earth. "The phantom civilization is no phantom at all," Theron said. "It is a federation of worlds led by none other than humanity itself." Gasps and exclamations filled the chamber. "Impossible," the Arvoni representative shouted. "The humans are contained in their home system. Our quarantine, boys, have been feeding us false data for over a century," Theron interrupted. "The humans developed technology to hack our systems decades ago. The readings we've been seeing from Sol are simulations." "If what you say is true," the head counselor said slowly, "then where are these humans now? How vast is their territory?" Theron hesitated. "That's the most troubling part, counselors. I don't know. My investigation suggests they control at least 100 worlds, possibly more. They've been operating beyond our knowledge for generations, forming alliances with minor species we've neglected." The council erupted in angry debate. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded diplomatic contact. A few simply sat in stunned silence, trying to comprehend how they could have been so thoroughly deceived. The head counselor raised his forearms for silence. "This is a crisis unprecedented in council history. I'm calling for an emergency session of the full assembly. All council worlds must be informed of this threat immediately." As the council members filed out, Theron remained behind, looking at his evidence. He had spent his career tracking the phantom civilization, only to discover that the council's own actions had created it. Had they simply welcomed humanity a century and a half ago, none of this would have happened. Some mistakes, it seemed, could not be undone. The Vex swarm descended on the council colony world of Pelios like a metallic storm. Millions of machine entities, each the size of a small vehicle, blackened the sky as they began systematically dismantling everything in their path. Buildings, vehicles, even the ground itself, converting all matter into more of themselves. The Council Defense Fleet fought bravely but hopelessly. Their weapons were ineffective against the sheer numbers of the swarm, and their defense strategies had never been designed for such an enemy. "Central Command, this is Pelios Defense. We are overwhelmed, requesting immediate evacuation support. Civilian casualties already in the millions. We cannot hold—" The transmission cut off abruptly. In the Council Emergency Command Center, military leaders watched in horror as the signal from Pelios went dark. Sensor data showed the Vex swarm already moving toward the next world in their path. "We've lost Pelios," announced the Supreme Commander grimly. "At current speed, the Vex will reach Doran Prime in 3 days, Valis in 5. Our fleets cannot be repositioned in time." "What about evacuation?" asked a civilian leader. "With what ships? We would need thousands of transports to evacuate billions of people. We don't have the resources." As despair settled over the command center, an aide rushed in. "Supreme Commander, unknown ships have appeared in the Pelios system." "The Vex?" "No, sir. It's a fleet. Hundreds of ships, design unknown. They appeared out of nowhere, as if they were invisible until now." The main screen shifted to show the new arrivals. Sleek vessels of unfamiliar design moved in perfect formation toward the Vex swarm. "Open a channel," ordered the Supreme Commander. "Let's find out who our mystery guests are." The screen flickered and a human face appeared. A woman with stern features and a uniform bearing unfamiliar insignia looked back at them. "This is Admiral Rachel Stone of the Aurora Federation Fleet. We've detected a Class 1 threat to all sentient life in this sector. We are moving to engage and contain. We recommend you evacuate all remaining citizens from Pelios' southern continent. We will hold this line." The Council Command Center went silent in shock. "Humans," whispered the Supreme Commander. "The phantom civilization. It's real." They watched as the human-led fleet engaged the Vex with shocking effectiveness. Energy, weapons unlike anything the Council had developed, tore through the swarm. Smaller ships darted between the machines with impossible agility, deploying devices that disrupted the Vex communication network. Hour after hour, the battle raged. The council leaders watched, transfixed, as the supposedly primitive humans and their allies fought with technology and tactics far beyond what should have been possible. "They're winning," said a council tactician in disbelief. "They're actually pushing the Vex back." By the following day it was over. The Vex threat had been contained, though at great cost. Dozens of the Aurora Federation ships had been destroyed in the battle, and half of Pelios lay in ruins. But billions of lives had been saved, council citizens who would have perished without intervention. As relief ships landed on Pelios, the survivors stared in wonder at their rescuers. Humans walked among Durrani, Krell, and other species the council had dismissed as insignificant, all working together with an efficiency born of long practice. The phantom civilization had finally stepped into the light, and the galaxy would never be the same. 200 years had passed since the Galactic Council had cast humanity aside. The galaxy was no longer the same place it had been. The battle at Pelios had changed everything. The Council's secret was exposed. They were not the all-powerful guardians of peace they claimed to be. And humanity's secret was revealed as well. They had not stayed contained and helpless, but had built something remarkable beyond the Council's sight. President David Reed stood at the window of his office, on Nexus Station, watching ships come and go from the massive space dock. As the elected leader of the Aurora Federation, he carried the legacy of his ancestor, Dr. Eliza Reed, whose work on FTL drives had started humanity's journey to the stars. Now that journey had come full circle. "Mr. President," his aide said, from the doorway, "the council representatives have arrived." David nodded. "Show them in." The door slid open, and 3 council members entered. Unlike the proud, dismissive aliens who had judged humanity 2 centuries before, these representatives looked humbled. The recent events had shaken the very foundation of their authority. "President Reed," said the lead representative council leader Azeroth, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms. His species had led the council for millennia, but now he came as nearly an equal, not a superior. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." "Of course," David replied. "Please, sit." As they took their seats, David studied them carefully. Azeroth was different. From most council leaders, he had been among the first to acknowledge that the old ways had failed. Beside him sat representatives from 2 other council species, both looking uncomfortable in this human-led space station. "I'll be direct," Azeroth said. "The Vex threat continues to grow. Despite your Federation's victory at Pelios, our analysts believe they will return in greater numbers. The Council's defenses are inadequate." "You're asking for our help," David said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. Our scientists have analyzed your weapons technology. It's unlike anything we've developed, more effective against the Vex than anything we have." David nodded. "Different paths lead to different destinations, Council Leader. When you isolated us, you forced us to innovate in ways you never considered." "Clearly," Azeroth agreed. "But there is more. The Council itself is fracturing. Many worlds seek to join your Federation instead." This didn't surprise David. Since the revelation of the Aurora Federation's existence, dozens of Council worlds had reached out, impressed by both the Federation's military prowess and its more equal governance structure. "The old order is changing," David said. "Perhaps it's time for something new." Grand Admiral Maria Walker, the latest in the long line of walkers who had helped build humanity's hidden empire, stood on the bridge of the Defiance II, namesake of the original flagship from a century before. Around her ship, the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy prepared for battle. "Status report," she ordered. "All Federation ships in position, Admiral," her first officer replied. "Council vessels moving into formation alongside, though their coordination is lacking." Maria nodded. This joint operation was unprecedented. Council ships and Federation ships fighting side by side against the returning Vex threat. For 2 centuries they had been potential enemies, with the Council unaware of the growing power beyond their borders. Now, survival depended on cooperation. Open a channel to the Council fleet, Maria ordered. The face of a Council commander appeared, on screen. Admiral Walker, my ships await your command. We will follow your battle plan. Words that would have been unimaginable just months ago. The mighty Council, following a human admiral's orders. Maintain formation and remember the strategy, Maria said. The Vex adapt quickly. Don't deviate from the plan unless absolutely necessary. As the enemy approached, a swarm of machines even larger than the one at Pelios, Maria felt a strange sense of completion. Her ancestor, Admiral James Walker, had promised that humanity would return to the stars stronger than ever. Now they didn't just have a place among the stars. They were leading the defense of the galaxy itself. All ships, engage on my mark, she commanded. For Earth and the Federation. Council leader Azarov walked alone through the memorial garden, on what had once been the Council's capital world. The garden had been created to honor those lost in the Vex attacks. Stone monuments bore the names of planets and people, a somber reminder of how close they had come to destruction. A figure waited for him near the central fountain. President David Reed had arrived for their private meeting. Thank you for coming, Azarov said. I thought it appropriate to meet here, away from advisors and politics. David nodded. Some conversations need to happen face to face. They walked together through the garden, an unusual sight, a human and a council leader as equals. The joint fleet was successful, Azarov said. The Vex have been pushed back beyond the galactic rim. Admiral Walker's strategy was brilliant. Maria comes from a long line of military minds, David replied. Her ancestors helped build our Federation from nothing. Azarov stopped walking. That's what I wanted to discuss with you. The Council, as it has existed for thousands of years, is finished. Too many worlds have left us to join your Federation. Our authority has been compromised. And yet the galaxy still needs governance, David said carefully. Yes. Azarov turned to face him directly. I am proposing something unprecedented, not a surrender, not an absorption, but a merger. A new galactic alliance, built on the strengths of both our systems. David raised an eyebrow. The Council would agree to this? What remains of it, yes. The alternative is to fade into irrelevance while your Federation becomes the dominant power. Azarov made a gesture that indicated humility in his culture. We were wrong about humanity, President Reed. We judged you by your past rather than your potential. In doing so, we nearly destroyed ourselves. 1 month later, representatives from over 500 worlds gathered in the Grand Assembly on Nexus Station. The chambers, built with the same secretive efficiency that had characterized all of humanity's works over the past 2 centuries, now played host to the most significant political event in galactic history. The night sky above Montana changed forever at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. What began as a routine shift for Commander Jack Harrison at Earth Defense Force's North American Monitoring Station became the most important moment in human history. Jack rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the display screen. Something wasn't right. The sensors were picking up energy signatures unlike anything he'd ever seen before, massive and moving in perfect formation at the edge of the solar system. Computer, run diagnostic check on long-range sensors, he ordered, reaching for his lukewarm coffee. Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning within normal parameters, the computer responded. Jack's heart rate quickened. If it wasn't a malfunction, then he pressed the emergency alert button. This is Commander Harrison. Wake up the director. We have a situation. Within an hour, the control room was filled with military personnel and scientists, all staring at the massive objects now clearly visible on their screens. The objects had moved with impossible speed from the outer solar system, and now positioned themselves just beyond the moon's orbit. Those aren't asteroids, whispered Dr. Lewis, the head scientist. The formation is too perfect. Director Patel entered the room, her face grim. What are we looking at, Commander? Before Jack could answer, every screen in the facility flickered and went dark. A moment later, they all reactivated but now displayed the same image. A figure that appeared almost human but with silver-gray skin and eyes that seemed to glow from within. People of Earth, The figure spoke in perfect English. I am Admiral Vex of the Galactic Concord. We have been observing your civilization for some time, and we have determined that you have reached the threshold for initial contact. The room fell silent. First contact. The moment humanity had speculated about, for centuries. We represent an alliance of 5,000 star systems. Admiral Vex continued. Our empire spans what you would call half of your visible galaxy. We have come to evaluate Earth for potential membership in our Concord. Director Patel stepped forward. This is Director Samira Patel of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization. Vex's expression remained unchanged. Your welcome is noted. However, membership in the Concord is not automatically granted. You must prove your worthiness through a series of tests. We will begin the assessment immediately. Prepare your world. Leaders for formal diplomatic contact. The transmission ended abruptly. Get the UN Security Council on the line, Director Patel ordered, and someone find me the best diplomat we have. Anna Miller was in the middle of negotiating a mining rights treaty between two hostile nations when her secure phone buzzed. Few people had this number and none would use it for trivial matters. Miller, she answered. Anna, it's Samira. You need to come in. Now. The world just changed. 4 hours later, Anna sat in a hastily assembled war room at the United Nations, surrounded by the leaders of Earth's most powerful nations. The room buzzed with a mixture of fear, excitement, and confusion. They're scanning everything, reported the Chinese ambassador. Our satellites detect energy beams passing through major cities, oceans, even deep into the Earth's crust. Military. Installations around the world report being observed by small probe-like devices, added General Reynolds. They're mapping our defenses. Anna studied the images of the alien ships now visible from Earth. Massive vessels, smooth and glistening like liquid metal, hung in the sky. Smaller craft darted around them like bees around a hive. Have they made any aggressive moves? She asked. None, General Reynolds replied, but they're not responding to any further communication attempts either. The Secretary General stood up. Ms. Miller, the Security Council has voted unanimously. You will lead our diplomatic response team. Your record of successful negotiations in impossible situations makes you our best hope. Anna felt the weight of humanity settle on her shoulders. I'll need a team, the best minds we have. You'll have them, the Secretary General promised. 3 days after the arrival, the aliens finally requested a meeting. They designated a location, a field outside Geneva, and specified that only 5 humans should attend. Anna stood in the field alongside General Reynolds, Director Patel, the Secretary General, and Dr. Mark Lee, Earth's leading xenobiologist. The air felt charged with electricity as they waited. A beam of light shot down from one of the hovering ships, and within it materialized 3 figures. Admiral Vex stood in front, flanked by 2 taller aliens with more pronounced non-human features. Elongated limbs and heads that seemed too large for their bodies. Anna Miller, Vex said without introduction. Your mind patterns indicate you are the designated communicator for your species. Anna stepped forward. I am, and I welcome you formally to Earth. Your welcome is unnecessary. We are here to assess, not to visit, Vex replied coldly. The Galactic Concord has established protocols for emerging civilizations. You will be tested on technology, resource management, societal cohesion, and biological compatibility. Tested for what purpose? Anna asked. To determine your place within the Concord, if any. One of the other aliens spoke. I am scientist, Mur. I will oversee the biological and technological assessment. The third alien remained silent, merely observing with eyes that seemed to absorb everything. We have prepared information about Earth to share with you, Anna offered, gesturing, to Dr. Lee, who held a data device. Unnecessary, Beck stated. Our scans have already collected most relevant data. Your technological development is primitive, but adequate for initial consideration. Your biological diversity is interesting. The way Vex said interesting sent chills down Anna's spine. The tests will begin tomorrow, Vex continued. We will select representatives from your population. They will be returned unharmed. Selected how? General Reynolds asked sharply. We need assurances about the safety of our people. The silent alien finally spoke, its voice deeper than the others. Your concerns reveal your species' fear-based responses. This is noted in the assessment. Without further discussion, the aliens disappeared in the same beam of light that had delivered them. Back at the newly established First Contact headquarters, Commander Jack Harrison reviewed the security footage from the meeting. I don't trust them, he told Anna as they sat in her makeshift office. Their body language, if you can call it that, suggests they're holding back significant information. Anna nodded. Every diplomat holds cards close to their chest, even alien ones apparently. It's more than that, Jack insisted. The way they dismissed our data, their interest in our biological diversity. Something doesn't add up. What are you suggesting? Jack pulled up satellite imagery on his tablet. While everyone was focused on the big ships, I've been tracking these smaller vessels. They're taking samples, water, soil, and if these readings are correct, biological specimens. Anna studied the images. From uninhabited areas? Mostly, yes. But there have been reports of people seeing strange lights and then experiencing missing time. Just isolated incidents, but enough to be concerning. Anna finished his thought. We need more information before we can make any judgments. Jack nodded grimly. The problem is I think they're testing us, but not in the way they claim. These scanning patterns focus heavily on our resources, particularly fresh water and certain mineral deposits. You think this is about resources, not membership in their Concord? I think, Jack said carefully, that humanity needs to prepare for all possibilities while we play along with their tests. Because if they're not here to welcome us to the galactic community, then we need to be ready to defend our home, Anna concluded, her expression hardening with resolve. As night fell over Earth, the alien ships continued their silent vigil, their lights reflecting off the oceans below like stars cast down from heaven, or perhaps more ominously like eyes watching a prize they intended to claim. The massive Concord ship hovered over Lake Michigan like a metallic cloud. Its surface rippled with strange lights as it extended a long tube down to the water. Commander Jack Harrison watched through binoculars from the shore, carefully hidden among trees. They're taking water samples again, he reported into his secure comm. This is the 7th major freshwater body they've targeted in 3 days. Back at First Contact headquarters, Anna Miller received Jack's transmission while trying to maintain a calm appearance during her daily meeting with Admiral Vex and scientist Mur. Your species shows remarkable adaptability, Mur was saying as he studied data on a floating screen only the aliens could see clearly. Though your technological development is quaint. Anna smiled politely, hiding her irritation at their constant condescension. We're a young species by cosmic standards. We're eager to learn from the conquered. Indeed, Admiral Vex replied without emotion. Today we will begin the second phase of assessment. We require access to your medical and genetic databases. Anna's diplomatic training kicked in, allowing her to maintain her expression while her mind raced. That information is protected for privacy reasons. Perhaps we could provide anonymous samples that would serve your research needs. Vex's silver eyes narrowed slightly. Refusal to cooperate will be noted unfavorably in your assessment. It's not a refusal, Anna said smoothly. It's an alternative solution that respects our cultural values while meeting your needs. Mur made a clicking sound that might have been amusement. Cultural values are temporary constructs. Species that join the conquered eventually adopt more efficient perspectives. The implied threat wasn't lost on Anna. She needed to buy time. I'll consult with Earth's leadership immediately, she promised. But I'm curious, what aspects of human genetics interest you most? Your neural patterns are unusual, Mur answered before Vex could stop him. Your brains process information in ways we haven't observed in similar species. This was the first truly useful information they had volunteered. Anna carefully steered the conversation to learn more, while secretly signaling for Dr. Lee to join them. Tom Wilson had spent 20 years as a military strategist before being assigned to Anna's team. Now he stood in a secure underground room, surrounded by maps showing conquered activity across the globe. They're focusing on three things, he explained to the assembled International Security Council. Water resources, mineral deposits rich in rare elements, and human population centers with specific demographic profiles. What kind of profiles? Asked the representative from India. Tom pulled up a chart. Mostly areas with young, healthy populations between ages 18 and 35. And they're particularly interested in regions with high levels of creative output, technology hubs, university towns, arts centers. They're resource mapping, said the Russian general flatly. This isn't a cultural exchange, it's an inventory. Tom nodded grimly. Every test they've administered has been designed to gather information about our capabilities and resources. The language tests measure our communication efficiency. The technology assessments catalog our advancement level. They're not testing if we deserve to join their conquered. They're assessing our value as a conquest. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What about their military capabilities? Asked the Chinese representative. Far beyond ours, Tom admitted. But they have patterns, weaknesses in their formations. They move with almost mathematical precision, which means they might lack adaptability, and they seem to rely heavily on their technology. We need more information, the American general stated, and we need a contingency plan. Dr. Mark Lee studied the brainwave patterns on his screen with growing excitement. The Conquered had invited 50 humans to undergo neural scanning, supposedly to assess compatibility with their communication systems. What they didn't know was that Dr. Lee had equipped each volunteer with microscopic sensors that recorded the alien scanning process itself. They're not just scanning our brains, he explained to Anna when she visited his lab that evening. They're testing how our neural networks respond to specific stimuli. Look at these patterns. He showed her a complex graph. When the human brain encounters certain frequencies, it produces unique wave patterns. The aliens seem extremely interested in these responses. What does it mean? Anna asked. I'm not sure yet, but they're focusing on areas related to creativity and problem solving. Areas where humans excel compared to AI systems. He lowered his voice. And I've detected something else. During the scans, the aliens are also attempting to map neural pathways as if they're looking for access points. Access points? You mean like they're trying to interface with human brains? Dr. Lee nodded slowly. Or maybe looking for ways to control them. Jack Harrison slipped through the woods near the crash site, his heart pounding. 18 hours ago, a small Conquered vessel had experienced some kind of malfunction and crashed in the remote forests of northern Canada. Before the main Conquered ships could respond, Earth's military had secretly secured the area. The crashed ship was smaller than expected, about the size of a bus. Its hull had cracked open, revealing strange technology inside that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Any survivors? Jack asked the Special Forces captain who met him at the perimeter. One, the captain replied. In bad shape but alive. Doesn't look like the others we've seen. Different biology. Jack followed the captain to a makeshift medical tent where a team of doctors worked on a being that looked nothing like Admiral Vex or the other Concord representatives. This alien had reddish skin with a pattern of darker markings. Its face was more expressive, almost human-like in its display of pain. It's conscious, one doctor reported. And based on our scans, it appears to be using some kind of translation technology. Jack approached carefully. I'm Commander Harrison of Earth Defense Force, can you understand me? The alien's eyes, amber-colored with vertical pupils, focused on Jack. Yes, it replied, its voice raspy and weak. You. Not safe. Hide me. We are hiding you, Jack assured it. The Concord doesn't know we found you yet. The alien seemed agitated. Not conquered, prisoner. Not what they seem. Jack moved closer. What do you mean? Who are you? I am Kel. My people, Enslaved by conquered. Not alliance. Empire. They conquer. They consume. A cold feeling spread through Jack's chest. The tests they're conducting on Earth. Not tests, Kel said, struggling to stay conscious. Preparation. They assess value before harvest. Your water, your minerals, your people. All resources to them. Why are they so interested in our brains, our neural patterns? Jack asked. Kel's eyes widened. You special. Human minds. Different. They fear and want. Your creativity. Unpredictable to them. Valuable but dangerous. Before Jack could ask more, the aliens' monitoring equipment began to signal distress. The doctors rushed forward, pushing Jack back. It's going into shock, one said. We need to stabilize it. Jack stepped outside the tent and immediately contacted Anna on their secure channel. The Conquered isn't here to welcome us to the galactic community, he said without preamble. They're here to take everything we have. That night, Anna stood on the balcony of First Contact headquarters, looking up at the massive ships that now seemed much more threatening. Admiral Vex had announced that Earth had passed the first stage of assessment and would move to more intensive evaluation tomorrow. Anna now understood what that really meant. The Conquered wasn't testing Earth for membership. They were cataloging it for consumption. As she watched, more Conquered ships appeared in the night sky, their lights forming patterns that once seemed beautiful, but now looked like the calculations of predators. Earth had one advantage. The Conquered didn't know that humans had discovered their true intentions, but with their vastly superior technology, would that be enough? Anna thought about Jack's report on the crashed alien named Kel. If there were enslaved species within the Conquered, perhaps Earth wasn't alone in its resistance. Her phone buzzed, with a message from Tom Wilson. Defense plans ready for review. Operation Shield Wall initialized. Earth would not go quietly. The assessment had shifted, not of Earth by the Conquered, but of the threat the Conquered posed to humanity's survival. And humanity was preparing its answer. Access denied indeed. Part 3. The Revelation. The underground bunker 20 miles outside of Ottawa buzzed with activity. What had started as a temporary medical facility for the alien, Kel had transformed into the heart of Earth's resistance. Military personnel from a dozen countries worked alongside scientists, each focused on the growing crisis above them. Kel, now stronger after 3 days of recovery, sat propped up on a medical bed. The alien's reddish skin had regained some of its luster, and the dark markings across its face seemed to shift slightly when it spoke. My people are called the Narians, Kel explained to the assembled Earth leadership. We were once like you, independent, proud with our own growing civilization. The Conquered arrived 50 of your years ago with promises of advancement and protection. Anna Miller leaned forward. And then they conquered you instead. Kel nodded, a gesture they had clearly learned from observing humans. They follow the same pattern with all worlds they target. First contact, assessment, then the final testing, which is actually the beginning of their invasion protocol. Jack Harrison studied the holographic star map Kel had helped them create, showing dozens of conquered worlds. How many civilizations have they absorbed this way? 37 complete civilizations, Kel replied. Hundreds of colony worlds. Some species are kept as servants, others as soldiers. Some, Kel's voice faltered. Some are harvested for resources. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Tom Wilson pointed to markings on the star map. These formations, are they Concord military installations? Yes. Their fleet movements follow strict patterns. They believe in perfect order, perfect control. Kel's amber eyes narrowed. It is their strength, but also their weakness. Dr. Lee, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, suddenly looked up. That explains the neural scanning. They're cataloging human brain patterns because our neural pathways show more randomness and creativity than they're accustomed to. Yes, Kel confirmed. Human minds are unusual. You make connections the Conquered cannot predict. It makes you dangerous to them, but also valuable. They will likely try to preserve many humans as resources. Anna couldn't suppress a shudder. Resources for what? Mental processing. Creative problem solving. The Concord connects minds to their systems, extracting thought patterns to power certain technologies. Kel's voice grew quieter. It is not a process designed for comfort. Jack slammed his fist on the table. We need to warn everyone. The world needs to know what we're really facing. No, Tom countered immediately. If we create a global panic, we lose any advantage surprise might give us. And if the Concord realizes we know their true purpose, they'll skip the rest of their assessment phase and move directly to invasion. Anna nodded reluctantly. He's right. We need to maintain the appearance of cooperation while we prepare our defense. Which brings us to the most important question. She turned to Kel. How do we fight them? They're centuries ahead of us technologically. Kel's expression shifted to something that might have been a smile. Technology is not everything, and I did not crash by accident. In Geneva, Admiral Vex and the senior Concord representatives gathered in their temporary headquarters aboard one of the smaller ships. The room hummed with energy as data streams flowed through the air, connecting to each member's neural implants. The assessment proceeds according to protocol, Vex reported to the holographic figure that dominated the center of the room. The supreme coordinator of the Concord, visible only as a swirling mass of light with occasional humanoid features. Earth's resources exceed initial estimates. Their water alone justifies the expedition. And the inhabitants? The Supreme Coordinator's voice resonated directly in their minds. Primitive but adaptable, answered Scientist Moore. Their neural patterns show exceptional potential for creativity matrices. Nearly 30% of the population would be suitable for integration into the thought engines. The Supreme Coordinator's form pulsed with what might have been satisfaction. Excellent. And their defenses? Negligible, reported the third Concord representative, Military Overseer Draz. Projectile weapons, crude missiles, limited orbital capabilities. They could not withstand even a single battle group. They continue to cooperate with assessment protocols? The coordinator asked. They believe they are being evaluated for membership, Vex confirmed. Their diplomatic representative, Anna Miller, displays occasional suspicion but no outright resistance. What of the missing scout vessel? The coordinator's tone sharpened. Vex hesitated. Destroyed in atmospheric entry. No recoverable components. You are certain? No survivors? None, Vex replied firmly. The crash site was thoroughly sterilized. The Supreme Coordinator's form expanded briefly. Proceed to the final assessment phase. I want Earth's integration to begin within 7 planetary rotations. The hologram disappeared, leaving the 3 Concord leaders alone. You lied to the coordinator, Moore observed, neither approving nor condemning. The crash site was empty when our recovery team arrived, Vex replied. If primitive humans found something before us, they could not possibly understand its significance. It is a minor detail not worth the coordinator's attention. Military Overseer Draz's expression remained impassive. Let us hope your assessment is correct, Admiral, for all our sakes. Back in the underground facility, Dr. Lee worked feverishly alongside a team of engineers and computer scientists. On the table before them lay components salvaged from Kel's crashed ship, including what the alien had identified as a neural interface device. This is how they connect minds to their technology, Kel explained, pointing to a delicate crown-like object. It translates thought patterns into commands their systems can understand. Dr. Lee carefully examined the device without touching it. And you believe we can reverse this? Use it to disrupt their systems instead. The Concord built their empire on strict order and predictability, Kel replied. Human minds are naturally chaotic by their standards. If we can amplify that chaos and broadcast it through their own communication network, we could temporarily disable their technology, Jack finished, catching on quickly. Like a mental virus. Tom Wilson frowned. Even if this works, it would only give us a brief advantage. How do we capitalize on that? By showing the other enslaved species that resistance is possible, Anna said, understanding dawning on her face. Kel, how many others like you are there? Those who secretly oppose the conquered? Many, Kel answered. On every ship on every conquered world. We wait, we watch, but we have never had hope before. The conquered's technology has always been too powerful, too integrated. Jack studied the neural device. Until now. Dr. Lee held up a small circuit board from the alien technology. I think I understand how this works. It's not entirely unlike our own neural network computing, just vastly more advanced, but the principles are similar enough that we might be able to interface with it. How long? Anna asked. Days, not weeks, Dr. Lee replied, but we'll need more processing power than we have here. You'll have it, Tom promised. Every supercomputer, on Earth if necessary. Anna turned to Kel. We need to know everything about the final test they're planning. What exactly happens, and how much time we have to prepare. They will select representatives from your population for what they call compatibility assessment, Kel explained. In reality, they are identifying the most valuable individuals for processing. Once they have completed their catalog, the main fleet arrives. Main fleet? Jack's head snapped up. You mean there are more ships coming? Kel's expression grew grave. What you see in orbit is merely the assessment force. The invasion fleet is much larger. The room fell silent again as everyone absorbed this information. Finally, Anna spoke. Then we don't have much time. We need to prepare Earth's defenses while maintaining the illusion of cooperation. And we need to get that neural disruptor working. There's something else, Kel said quietly. Something I have not told you yet. The reason the Concord fears human creativity. All eyes turned to the alien. There was once another species with mental patterns similar to yours. They nearly broke free of the Concord before they were eliminated. The Concord will not risk that again. If they sense your resistance, they will not attempt to harvest Earth. They will destroy it completely. The weight of Kel's words settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Then we get one chance, Jack said grimly. And we better not waste it. Outside, above the clouds that hid the secret facility, the conquered ships continued their silent watch, unaware that their carefully orchestrated assessment had just become a race against time. The night sky over Beijing glowed with the eerie light of conquered ships. Similar scenes played out over every major city on Earth as the alien vessels positioned themselves strategically around the globe. To most of humanity, it still appeared to be a peaceful first contact. Only a select few knew the truth. In a reinforced laboratory beneath the Alps, Dr. Lee made final adjustments to what they now called the disruptor. The device looked deceptively simple, a silver headband connected to a box filled with Earth, technology merged with components from Kel's ship. The principle is straightforward, Dr. Lee explained to Anna, Jack, and Tom as they watched him work. The conquered systems are built on perfect order and predictability. Human brains naturally produce patterns that are chaotic by their standards. This device amplifies those patterns and converts them into a signal the conquered's technology can receive. Will it hurt the person wearing it? Anna asked, eyeing the headband. No, Kel answered from where he sat nearby. It only reads neural activity. It does not control or harm the mind. Tom studied the schematics on a nearby screen. And you're sure this disruption will affect all their systems? Not all, Dr. Lee admitted. Their basic life support and emergency functions use isolated systems, but weapons, communications, navigation, anything connected to their central network will be temporarily disabled. How temporarily? Jack asked. Minutes, perhaps. 10 at most before their systems adapt. Jack nodded grimly. Then we need to make those minutes count. Under the cover of darkness, Special Forces teams from a dozen nations were deployed to key locations around the world. Each team carried a compact version of the disruptor, designed to be attached to conquered vessels. Commander Jack Harrison led the most critical mission, placing a device on Admiral Vex's command ship hovering over Geneva. His team consisted of 6 elite soldiers, and Kel, whose knowledge of conquered ships was essential. They approached by helicopter, flying dangerously low to avoid detection. When they reached the perimeter of the invisible energy field surrounding the ship, Kel activated a small device that opened a narrow corridor through the field. "We have 4 minutes before the field recalibrates," Kel whispered. The team deployed from the helicopter using nearly silent jetpacks, another technology based on components from Kel's crashed ship. They landed on the smooth outer hull of the massive vessel, magnetic boots allowing them to walk on its surface. This way, Kel directed, leading them to a maintenance access point. The ship's skin can sense intrusion, but these panels are designed for external repair drones. The sensors are less sensitive here. Using tools Kel had helped design, they carefully opened the panel. Jack felt sweat dripping down his back despite the cool night air. If they were discovered now, the entire plan would fail. Inside the ship, they moved quickly through narrow maintenance tunnels bathed in a pulsing blue light. Twice they had to hide as Conquered service drones passed by. Insect-like machines that fortunately didn't seem programmed to look for intruders. "The central communication hub is 1 level down," Kel whispered. "It connects to every system on the ship and broadcasts to the fleet." They descended through an access tube, emerging in a chamber filled with technology unlike anything Jack had ever seen. Crystalline structures pulsed with light, connected by streams of what looked like liquid energy flowing through transparent tubes. "Place the device there." Kel pointed to a crystal formation larger than the others. "That's the primary network node." Jack carefully attached the disruptor to the node. "How long until it activates?" "It's passive until the signal comes," Kel replied. "When your Dr. Lee activates the master device, all of these will respond." "Then let's get out of here before—" An alarm suddenly blared through the ship, its pitch rising and falling in a pattern that hurt human ears. "We've been detected," Kel said, eyes wide with fear. "We must hurry." Anna Miller stood before Admiral Vex in the Concord's Geneva headquarters, maintaining a mask of diplomatic pleasantness while her heart raced. Everything depended on this meeting, on keeping Vex distracted while Jack's team completed their mission. "We appreciate the Concord's thorough assessment," she was saying. "Earth's nations are eager to learn the results." Admiral Vex regarded her with those unsettling silver eyes. "The assessment is nearly complete. Your species has shown unexpected qualities." "Good ones, I hope?" Anna smiled. "Interesting ones," Vex replied neutrally. "Your final evaluation will begin tomorrow. Representatives from each of your major population centers will be selected for compatibility testing." Anna knew what that really meant. They would be selecting humans for harvesting, identifying the most valuable minds to power their thought engines. "We look forward to it," she lied smoothly. "Though I'm curious, what happens after a species joins the Conquered? How does the integration process work?" Before Vex could answer, Military Overseer Draz burst into the room. "Admiral, we have intruders on the command ship. Humans and one of the Narration rebels." Vex's composed facade cracked, for the first time shock visible on his alien features. "Impossible, how could they—" The lights in the room flickered and died, plunging them into darkness for a moment before emergency lighting activated. Vex and Draz both froze in place, their bodies suddenly rigid. Anna's earpiece crackled to life with Tom Wilson's voice. "Disruptor activated. All teams execute now." Across the globe, the Concorde ships suddenly darkened. Their perfect formations wavered as propulsion systems failed, causing some vessels to drift. Inside each ship, chaos erupted as systems shut down and rebooted randomly. In the Alps laboratory, Dr. Lee sat with the master disruptor device on his head, his brain patterns amplified and broadcast to the devices Jack and other teams had planted. On screens around him, technicians monitored the effects. "It's working," one shouted. "Conquered communications are down. Their weapon systems are offline." Tom Wilson immediately activated the Global Defense Network. Disguised missile platforms that had been positioned days earlier emerged from hiding. They weren't aimed at the Conquered ships. That would have been futile against their armor. Instead, they targeted the space between ships, detonating in carefully calculated patterns. Plasma. Web activated, reported a military officer. Disrupting their formation and blocking reinforcements. The sky lit up worldwide as the missiles created a web of energy that further interfered with conquered systems. Any ship that tried to move through it would face even greater disruption. Jack and his team fought their way back through the command ship, now plunged into confusion. The maintenance drones moved erratically, sometimes crashing into walls. The few Concorde crew they encountered seemed disoriented, unable to coordinate a response. "How long until they adapt?" Jack shouted to Kel as they ran. "Minutes. We must reach the broadcast center." They burst into a large chamber filled with more crystalline technology. At its center stood a platform with what looked like a pilot's seat surrounded by floating control surfaces. "This is it," Kel said breathlessly. "The ship's broadcast array. I can use it to transmit to the entire fleet." "Do it fast," Jack urged, as his team secured the room. "We're running out of time." Kel sat in the control seat, and the crystals around him began to glow in response to his presence. "The system recognizes me as Narration. I have limited access." The alien's hands moved across the floating controls with practiced ease. "I'm connecting to the fleet-wide emergency channel. Every ship will receive this." "Tell them the truth," Jack said. "All of it." Kel nodded and began to speak, his voice carried to every Concorde vessel in Earth, orbit, and beyond. He spoke in multiple languages, not just human tongues, but the languages of dozens of conquered species. He told them of the Concorde's lies, of Earth's discovery and resistance. Most importantly, he told them of the disruptor, proof that the Concorde's technology could be fought. "The Concorde is not invincible," Kel's message concluded. "Earth has found their weakness. Freedom is possible. Rise up, join us." In Geneva, Anna faced Admiral Vex, who had partially recovered from the disruption, but still moved stiffly, as if fighting against invisible restraints. "What have you done?" Vex demanded, his voice distorted. "Exactly what you feared," Anna replied calmly. "We've embraced our chaotic, creative nature, the very thing you wanted to harness but couldn't control." Scientist Murr staggered into the Yao room. "Admiral, we're receiving reports of rebellion on multiple ships. The subject species are rising up." Vex's silver eyes widened. "Impossible. The control protocols are compromised," Anna finished for him. "Just like your assessment of Earth." A communication device on Vex's wrist flickered to life, showing the holographic form of the Supreme Coordinator. "Admiral Vex, explain this." "Failure immediately," the figure demanded. "Supreme Coordinator," Vex began, but Anna stepped forward. "Your Admiral can't explain because he fundamentally misunderstood us," she interrupted. "Earth isn't just another resource for your empire. We're something you've never encountered before, a species that refuses to be cataloged, controlled, or conquered." The Coordinator's form pulsed with what might have been rage. "You are primitive beings. Your resistance is meaningless." "Is it?" Anna gestured to the windows where conquered ships could be seen drifting out of formation, some of them firing upon each other as internal rebellions spread. "Your empire is built on fear and control. Take those away and what's left?" The disruption was beginning to fade. Systems were coming back online, but the damage was done. The perfect order of the conquered had been broken, perhaps irreparably. "This isn't over," the Supreme Coordinator hissed before the transmission cut out. Vex turned to Anna, his composed demeanor completely shattered. "You have no idea what you've done. The full might of the conquered will descend upon your world." "Perhaps," Anna acknowledged. "But not today. And today, Admiral Vex, humanity is sending you a message. Access denied. Earth is not yours to take." The sky above Earth had become a battlefield. Conquered ships, once arranged in perfect geometric patterns, now moved in chaos. Some drifted aimlessly, their systems still recovering from the neural disruption. Others fired upon each other as enslaved. Crew members seized the opportunity to rebel. In the command center beneath the Alps, Tom Wilson directed Earth's forces with calculated precision. Screens surrounding him showed the global situation, updating in real time. Focus fire on the ships, still under Concord control, he ordered. Support the rebel vessels where possible. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for everyone the Concord has enslaved. Military teams worldwide deployed the weapons they had secretly prepared over the past week. While primitive compared to Concord technology, they had been specifically designed based on Kel's knowledge of Concord weaknesses. Dr. Lee rushed into the command center, his face flushed with excitement. The neural disruptor worked even better than we hoped. The signal has created a cascading effect through their network. Even as they recover from the initial disruption, their systems are experiencing random failures. How long will that last? Tom asked. Hours, maybe days, Dr. Lee replied. Their entire system architecture is based on predictable patterns. Our chaotic signal is like a virus to them. They can't simply delete it without rebuilding their core protocols. Tom allowed, himself a small smile. Then we have a fighting chance. Jack Harrison and his team, along with Kel, had escaped the command ship during the chaos and now approached the Geneva headquarters where Anna was confronting Admiral Vex. We need to get her out of there, Jack told his team as their transport raced through the night sky. Before the Concord leadership recovers enough to retaliate. Look. One of his soldiers pointed upward. A massive portal was forming in space above Earth, a swirling distortion that seemed to tear the very fabric of reality. Through it they could see the silhouettes of more Concord vessels. The invasion fleet, Kel said grimly. They're coming, Jack's jaw tightened. Then we better hurry. In Geneva, Anna stood her ground as Admiral Vex regained more control of his faculties. The alien leader's silver skin had taken on a darker hue. Whether from anger or some biological response to stress, Anna couldn't tell. Your resistance is remarkable, Vex said, his voice steadier now. But ultimately futile. The Concord spans half the galaxy. Your world is alone. Are we? Anna challenged. Because from where I stand it looks like your empire is fracturing from within. Military Overseer Draz burst into the room again. Admiral, rebellions have broken out on 37 ships, and the humans, they're coordinating attacks to support the rebels. Vex's expression darkened further. Deploy the subjugation protocols. All rebel crews are to be purged. Prepare the remaining ships to receive the invasion fleet. Anna felt a chill run down her spine. Purged? You would massacre your own people rather than admit they deserve freedom? They are not people, Vex replied coldly. They are resources, as you would have been. A loud explosion rocked the building. Through the windows, Anna could see Jack's team engaging Concord security forces outside. Your time is running out, Admiral, she said. More quickly than you realize. Across Earth, people watched in terror and awe as the sky erupted in battle. Government broadcasts had finally revealed the truth, that the seemingly peaceful first contact was actually an invasion attempt, and that humanity was fighting back alongside aliens who had been enslaved by the Concord. In orbit, rebel Concord, ships formed a defensive line, positioning themselves between Earth and the portal where the invasion fleet was beginning to emerge. Led by freed Narians and other enslaved species, they coordinated with Earth's military to establish a united defense. The first massive invasion vessel emerged completely from the portal, a behemoth dwarfing even the largest assessment ships. Its surface bristled with weapons that began to power up, glowing with ominous energy. In response, a swarm of smaller Earth vessels moved into position. Developed in secret based on Kel's technology, they carried compact neural disruptors. While individually weak, together they created a web of disruption that caused the invasion ship's weapons to falter and misfire. Keep them off balance, Tom ordered from the command center. Don't let them establish a foothold. Jack's team fought their way through the Concord headquarters, encountering resistance from security drones and the few Concord enforcers who had recovered from the disruption. This way, Kel guided them through the complex. The main chamber is ahead. They burst through the doors to find Anna facing down Admiral Vex and his lieutenants. Jack raised his weapon, but Anna held up a hand to stop him. They need to hear this, she said, then turned back to Vex. Your invasion has failed, Admiral. Not just because of our resistance, but because your entire empire is built on a fundamental lie. That order can only come through control. That unity requires submission. Through the windows, they could see more portals opening as the remainder of the invasion fleet arrived. But for each Concord ship that emerged, 2 rebel vessels moved to intercept it. Vex stared at the scene with disbelief. This is impossible. The control protocols were created to suppress free will. Kel stepped forward. But free will always finds a way to express itself. A massive explosion lit up the sky as one of the invasion ships was crippled by combined fire from Earth forces and rebel vessels. You might conquer Earth, Jack said, but it would cost you your empire. Is one planet worth that price? Vex's communication device activated again, the Supreme Coordinator appearing in holographic form. But this time, the figure appeared distorted, flickering in and out of coherence. Admiral Vex. The Coordinator's voice was filled with rage. The rebellion spreads beyond Earth. Reports from 17 systems indicate uprising. What have you done? It wasn't him, Anna interjected. It was the power of an idea, that freedom is possible. Your entire empire now knows that the Concord can be fought and defeated. The Coordinator's form stabilized momentarily. This changes nothing. The invasion will proceed. Earth will be. Another explosion rocked the building, cutting off the transmission. Through the windows they could see the command ship, Vex's own vessel, turning its weapons on other conquered ships. Your own flagship has joined the rebellion, Anna observed. Your empire is falling apart, Admiral, but it doesn't have to end in total destruction. You can stop this. Vex looked from Anna to the battle raging outside, his silver eyes unreadable. For a long moment, he stood in silence. Then, slowly, he moved to a control panel and activated. His voice rang out, broadcasting to the entire Concord fleet. This is Admiral Vex. Stand down all weapons. Disengage from Earth orbit. The assessment is concluded. 3 days later, Anna Miller, Jack Harrison, Tom Wilson, and Dr. Lee stood alongside Kel on a hilltop outside Geneva. Below them, representatives from Earth's nations had gathered for a historic meeting with delegates from the former Concord, now calling themselves the Free Alliance. I never thought I would see this day, Kel said, gazing at the gathering. Freedom for my people and so many others. What happened to Admiral Vex? Jack asked. He and those loyal to the old Concord retreated through the portal, Tom answered. According to our long-range sensors, they're regrouping in a distant system. They'll be back, Anna said with certainty. Not today, maybe not for years, but eventually. And we'll be ready, Dr. Lee added. The neural disruption technology was just the beginning. With what we've learned from Kel and the other freed species, Earth's defenses will advance more in the next decade than they would have in a century. Below them, the gathering began to disperse as the first diplomatic agreements were signed. The former Concord ships still in Earth orbit were being repurposed, some as joint research vessels, others as the beginning of a defensive fleet to protect not just Earth, but all the newly liberated worlds. What will you do now, Kel? Anna asked. Return to my homeworld, help my people rebuild, the alien replied. But I will return. There is much our civilizations can learn from each other. Jack looked up at the sky, now peaceful again, but forever changed. And the Supreme Coordinator? What became of it? Unknown, Tom said. But its power was always based on the illusion of invincibility. That illusion is shattered now. A small ship approached, hovering above them. It was one of the new, hybrid vessels built with both human and alien technology. Its hatch opened in silent invitation. They're waiting for us, Anna said. The first joint mission to establish an early warning network. As they boarded the ship, Jack took one last look at Earth below them. You know, we never did give them a proper answer to their assessment. Anna smiled. I think we did. Earth to Galactic Empire. Access denied. The ship rose into the atmosphere, carrying representatives of Earth to join their new allies among the stars. Behind them, across the globe, Humanity looked to the sky with new understanding. They were not alone in the universe, and they were not helpless. The cosmos held dangers, yes, but also friends and possibilities beyond imagination. The Concord had sought to add Earth to its collection of conquered worlds. Instead, Earth had helped free dozens of civilizations and forge a new alliance based on mutual respect rather than dominance. And throughout the galaxy, a message spread from world to world, system to system, carrying hope to those still under Concord control. Earth had done the impossible. Earth had said no to the empire that had never been denied. Earth had proven that freedom was possible. They called it the denied realm, the world that refused to submit, that had turned assessment into rebellion and invasion into liberation. And while the remains of the old Concord plotted their revenge from distant stars, they did so with a new emotion they had never experienced before: fear. For the first time in its long history, the Concord had encountered a force it could not predict or control: the chaotic creativity of the human spirit, now allied with the determined will of all those who yearned for freedom across the galaxy. The assessment was complete. The verdict: rendered Earth to Galactic Empire, access denied, you're not entering the realm, and the galaxy would never be the same.